Once upon a time in a land not too far away, when other animals were still being hunted and used by men for different nefarious purposes, a brave bear not only broke the norm to become a soldier, he rose in ranks to become a corporal. He marched into battle on two legs covered in fur. And although he could not speak, his actions spoke louder than words. This isn't just a story of a bear becoming a soldier. It is also a story of a bear who pushed beyond the limits of nature to become a hero. This is his story. In April 1942, a group of Polish soldiers were making their way from Pahlavi to Tehran, Iran, with some Polish civilians when they met a young Iranian boy walking with a tiny, malnourished bear cub clinging to his chest. Hunters had shot the cub's mother, and the boy had no means to care for the bear, so he was looking for someone to buy it. The Polish soldiers were part of the Anders Army, a Polish military unit formed during World War II. It was created after Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union, released thousands of Polish prisoners of war, POWs they captured during the war. So these men, having spent years suffering from hunger, torture, harsh conditions in brutal labor camps called Soviet gulags, and losing their families to war, they could relate to the cub's situation. The soldiers and civilians were so moved by his condition that one of the civilians, Irina Inka-Bakevich, asked one of the soldiers, Lieutenant Anatol Tarnowski, to buy the bear. So he bought the bear, and they took the bear along with them to their refugee camp near Tehran. For the next 3 months, Irina took care of the cubs so well that the club grew too big for them to manage, and Irina had no choice but to find a more befitting home for the bear. In August 1942, Irina donated him to the 22nd Artillery Supply Company. It was a very sad day for them all. It was in this camp that the soldiers named the bear Wojtek. It's a Polish nickname meaning happy warrior. At first, Wojtek had problems swallowing, so he was only fed condensed milk from an old vodka bottle. And over time, they started to feed him fruits, marmalade, honey, and syrup. When he did well, he was often rewarded with beer, which later became his favorite drink. Wojtek formed a deep bond with these soldiers, and they treated him like a comrade, not a pet. To the soldiers, Wojtek was a morale booster. He was playful and loyal. He learned to march on two legs. He saluted. He rode in trucks. He wrestled with the soldiers. He slept beside them in tents. He drank coffee in the morning and also later developed a taste for cigarettes, though he mostly chewed them up. Wojtek became the unofficial mascot of all the units stationed nearby. He also traveled with the soldiers to Iraq and then through Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. All the things he learned in camp did not seem useful at the time until one day in 1944. The big moment of legends came for Wojtek in January 1944 during the Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy. One of the bloodiest battles the British, alongside the Americans and other troops, fought in Europe. These Polish soldiers were reassigned to fight alongside the British 8th Army. But the regulations for the British transport ship meant to carry the soldiers forbade mascots and pet animals, which meant they needed to leave the bear behind. But these soldiers had no intention of leaving their favorite mascot behind. So they did the unimaginable. Being left with no choice, they officially drafted Wojtek the bear into the Polish army as a private and listed him among the soldiers of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company, which not only meant he could be transported with them on the ship, but sadly had to join them for war. Did this turn out to be a giant mistake in a case of animal cruelty? Well, you have to watch to the end to find out. Two soldiers, Henryk Zakariewicz and Lew Warzowski, were assigned as his caretakers. And as an enlisted soldier, he had his own pay book, rank, and serial number. He also lived with the other men in tents or in a special wooden crate, which was transported by truck. As the Battle of Monte Cassino continued, soldiers were constantly transporting supplies and carrying massive crates of artillery shells up steep mountainsides. Wojtek, fully grown by now, started mimicking them. He began lifting the crates himself, carrying them without fear, just like the men. The only difference was that Wojtek could single-handedly carry a box meant to be carried by 4 soldiers. He helped his unit convey ammunition to the battlefield by carrying 100-pound crates of 25-pound artillery shells without dropping any of them. His strength, bravery, and courage were unmatched, and it did not go unnoticed. He became a glimpse of hope and courage for the entire army. If a bear could do this, then I certainly can too, they must have thought to themselves. Not only did this impress commanders, but it also made the Polish army promote the bear to a corporal. In recognition of Wojtek's popularity during the Battle of Monte Cassino, a depiction of a bear carrying an artillery shell was adopted as the official emblem of the 22nd Company. After the war, Wojtek traveled with the Polish army to Scotland, where they were stationed at Winfield Airfield near the village of Hutton. He quickly became a local favorite, gaining attention from civilians and the press. The Polish-Scottish Association even made him an honorary member. But whatever has a beginning always has an ending. The 22nd Artillery Supply Company was demobilized on the 15th of November, 1947, and the soldiers had to go their separate ways while Wojtek sadly spent the rest of his life in a zoo in Edinburgh. People continued to visit him there, including the veterans from his old unit, who would always address him by his Polish name. He would always perk up when that happened and wave. Sadly, Wojtek died in 1963, but he was never forgotten. Statues were erected in Scotland, Poland, and England to honor his bravery and bond with the men. A street in Poland was named after him in 2017. The street is named Ulica Corporala Wojtka, meaning Corporal Wojtek Street. And a 28-minute animated short film was made in his honor in 2024. Wojtek wasn't trained to kill, he wasn't bred for war. Instead, he was a symbol of survival, loyalty, and the wild humanity that survives even in war. He didn't just carry ammunition, he carried hope. If you would like to hear more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. Thanks for watching.